pressure looks good.
Traveling up. Roger, roll with Atlantic.
Water towers can fly! Yes!
Tango Delta nominal.
Flight outside SC off. Say again, SC off. Off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to NASASpaceflight's live broadcast of the rollout of the third tower section of SpaceX's Starship launch tower, which is currently being assembled at Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Hello, everybody. My name is Hagen Warren. I'm a writer here at NASASpaceflight. I'll be your host here today. And we have an awesome team here to provide you guys with commentary and awesome views of today's rollout. But before we get into introductions real quick, this is an interactive live stream. So if you'd like to ask us a question for us to put up on stream, possibly, be sure to tag us at NASASpaceflight in chat with your question, and it'll go into some fancy software that we have, and we might select it and put it up on screen. But before we go ahead, never mind. All right, let's go ahead and get into introductions here. So, first up, here with me in the studio, we have Mr. Chris Gebhardt, Assistant Managing Editor of NASASpaceflight. How are you doing today, Chris?
I am doing just fine this evening, ready to see a tower segment roll down.
Awesome, definitely. And of course, we have Michael Baylor in the background here, pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, operating today's live stream. And then next up, out in the field, giving you guys this awesome view of where we'll hopefully see a tower section coming up in the next few minutes, is Thomas Burkhart, News Director here at NASASpaceflight. How are you doing, Thomas?
I'm doing well, Hagen. Thank you so much. Yeah, you are looking at a live view of the intersection where the tower segment is about to appear. We're at the press site at Kennedy Space Center, just near the VAB. And of course, the tower segment's going to be rolling past us once again on its way to 39A. And I'll be giving you some live views as SpaceX continues construction of their East Coast Starship launch site.
Definitely. And yeah, so let's get going here. So Chris or Thomas, either one of you, would either of you like to give us a general overview of what's happening today, what the importance of these tower sections are? Because right now, for the average person who doesn't follow this program, it might be a little bit weird to just see a tower section rolling down the road at Kennedy Space Center. So what exactly is happening here?
Yeah, so to give an overview here, we are watching something that we've seen before, believe it or not. This is the second time SpaceX is doing this, but it's the first time they're doing it in Florida, and that is building a launch tower to support Starship and Super Heavy orbital launch operations. SpaceX is, of course, building a new launch pad over at Pad 39A. We just caught a very brief glimpse of the segment, by the way. We're going to be seeing it coming off to the left side of your screen right now. In just a couple minutes, it's on its way. We're catching brief glimpses through the trees, but you'll actually see it with a full view here shortly. But yeah, so they're building a new launch pad over within the fence of 39A, which is where, of course, SpaceX hosts a lot of their launches already. Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy launches, all the Crew Dragon launches, those all happen at 39A. But they're adding a new separate launch mount, and that includes a launch tower, just like they have at Starbase, Texas. They've already rolled out 2 segments, so if you've been following the channel, you've seen live coverage of those 2 segments rolling out. And just like we did in Starbase when SpaceX rolled out all of those segments for that construction, we're bringing you that same coverage as SpaceX builds up the launch infrastructure for the Starship program. This tower is going to be used for a bunch of different things. It will have the catch arms, or the chopsticks, or the Mechazilla arms, whichever name you want to use, to catch a booster that is returning for reuse. Might also be used to catch a Starship down the line. It'll have the QD arm that's used to fuel the Starship and have their ground connections to Starship while the vehicle is stacked on the pad. Might eventually have a crew access arm, things like that. So this is the building up that launch infrastructure that's basically adding a new launch site to the Kennedy Space Center, which is not something that's happened for a very long time. I don't know. When's the last time a new launch site appeared at Kennedy Space Center, Chris? I mean, do we count what the new blank concrete pad small sat launch area?
Okay, you got me on the technically, 2 years ago.
Right.
But,
yeah. Is that the last one? I guess.
Not
Not that it's been
the
used
last
yet.
one. Yeah, I mean, aside from 39A and 39B, the only other launch site that exists at the Kennedy Space Center is LC-39C, which is technically inside the perimeter of Pad B and is a clean as well. So yeah, in terms of like major infrastructure builds, A and B are pretty much it.
Yeah, so that's what we're watching today. We're seeing SpaceX continue to progress, and then a big point of showing us this cadence as the segment comes into view is how quickly SpaceX is actually building up this launch infrastructure. Of course, we got a taste of this in Starbase, but doing the exact same thing here at Kennedy Space Center is noteworthy, and it shows you how rapidly SpaceX wants to bring a second launch site online. But you can see here, just poking above some buildings, of course, we'll get a much clearer view in just a second, but it is on that self-propelled modular transporter on its way to 39A. It'll be making the turn in front of us and passing in front of the VAB.
Yeah, my gosh, this looks like it might be a take your foot off the brake and lean
Yeah.
type of turn coming up here. Wow, that is a lot
It's
faster than the first two.
yeah, I was just
It
about to
looks like
say this thing is
it looks like.
moving fast. Yeah.
They told the teams here they wanted a rapid launch cadence, and they took it to heart.
It's good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as you can see, I mean, we're about to see this thing in all its glory in just a few seconds here. But yeah, so while we're waiting for this thing to, fully come around and stop in front of the VAB, I thought we'd hit a few questions here. This is an interesting one, especially since this is the first time we're seeing this at day. And we can sort of relate it to this. But Super Chat here from Musical Wolves saying, well, not today actually, regarding this question. It says, does SpaceX roll out during night and install at day? Well, currently they're rolling out during the day, but the past two rollouts of these tower sections, they did those at night. And I believe they stacked those first two sections at 39A during the day, if I'm remembering correctly.
I believe you're correct. I mean, most
Yes.
crane lift operations you want to do during the day. We did talk about how that's different from chopstick lift operations in Starbase, because apparently it appears they have no problems doing that at night. Probably just a different type of procedure. But yeah, as we'll see, and as I'm not going to point away from the segment that's moving right now, but as we place the camera that way, we will catch a glimpse of the already two segments that are stacked. But yeah, they roll later in the day. You're seeing it. This is the earliest they've rolled, but it's still in the evening here in Kennedy Space Center, and that's to avoid disrupting traffic. It does have to roll from the Hangar X facility, where SpaceX also does a lot of refurbishment work on Falcon 9s and fairings. That's, if you can picture the hangar that the Inspiration 4 walked out of, that's the hangar we're talking about. And from that facility, is right near there is where these segments were built, and you can see our coverage of that in all of our Kennedy Space Center flyover videos. So they just have to roll from that road down past the VAB towards 39A. And in order to do that, you kind of have to go over a pretty major highway on Kennedy Space Center that everyone who works here uses to get around the base. So they roll later in the day, so there's less traffic and they're not disrupting anything like that. But we do have some daylight for today's rollout, which is a nice change.
Definitely. And as you can see there, it's definitely slowed down, which is an indicator that it's coming down that turn right there. So yeah, this thing is really moving. I did not know it would be moving this fast.
It really is. It's moving quicker around that turn too.
As Thomas said, they're really looking for a rapid launch cadence here. Looking at some more questions here, we have a super chat here from Desmo Bluefire saying, when SpaceX moves ships and boosters, will they roll out on the same rows as the tower segments? So will we see ships and boosters rolling down the same road that this tower section is moving down right now?
We will, and that is largely a function of how the Kennedy Space Center is built and how it operates. There is one main north-south road, the road it just literally turned off of, that they had to close part of it for. And there are very specific toways across the Kennedy Space Center and roads that have been built to sort of wide enough to, and with the traffic signals and everything low enough for clearances as you need to move these big, wide objects, sometimes primarily payloads, inside encapsulated payload fairings that go out for the Atlas and the Deltas when those payloads get stacked over in Titusville at Astrotech. But yes, because of that, the only way to get starships from the production facility at KSC and out to 39A is to follow the exact same route that these have just followed.
Yeah. So that's going to be awesome to see. Hopefully, in a few months here, we might see some, or a few years here. I don't think it'll be a few months, but sometime in the future, we'll say that we'll see some starships and some super heavy boosters rolling down this same road.
Hagen, based on that timeline of a few months, I think Mr. Musk would like to talk with you. You're his kind of guy on timelines, for how quickly he wants to
Yeah.
move.
Yeah, I might be on Elon time. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. But yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, well, here relating to sort of the same question here, we can maybe go in a little bit more detail here. Another question here saying, what is the route the tower is taking? It's a bit more complicated than in Boca, I'd imagine. So, Chris, you talked about there briefly a north and south road down at the Cape. Could you go into that more?
Yeah.
Is this more complicated than the road we're taking in Boca?
Yes, and yeah, we can definitely take that. And Michael, I don't know if it's possible to pull up Google Earth or something in a side by side, or if we'd want to do that. But basically, in Boca, right, there's one road that they go on. It's one road that runs from the launch site down to the production site. So they just turn off of the production site immediately onto that road, and they head out the mile and a half to 2 miles that it is as the road bends and turns there to get out to the launch site. And then once you get out there, you're at the launch site. Here you're at a production site. You then have to go down a special access road to a road called Schwartz Road, and then you turn right onto Schwartz, and you take a little bit and you go a little bit on Schwartz, and then you turn left and go contraflow up State Road 3 or the Saturn Causeway or Parkway, one of the two. I forget which one it is. But it's State Road 3 that runs north and south of the Cape. And then you make the turn as you've just seen it do here. And then it sort of winds its way around the roads of the vehicle assembly building that aren't straight. And then it picks up the crawlerway and then parallels the crawlerway. So Michael's just showing you that's the access road, then Schwartz, then up 3, and now weaving through the VAB and then out to pad A along the crawlerway. And where it is right now is in that little hook that it does around the vehicle assembly building. But that is the route that these towers take, and this is also the route that the ships and boosters will take as well.
Yeah, really cool.
Point of reference, really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, another point of reference really quick is if you've taken a bus tour at the Kennedy Space Center, when you enter the security gates on that bus tour and you turn onto a major highway and you're driving towards the VAB, that's the main road that it just turned off of. So if you've been to the Kennedy Space Center before and you know what I'm talking about there, that gives you an idea where it traveled from. And on those bus tours, if you took one recently, you pass the Hangar X facility, the Roberts Road facility, where these buildings are built.
It's so crazy to me that they're just rolling these things down roads. It's so cool to me how they're really just putting it on a souped up car, if we want to go with that, and just rolling it down the road. It's so cool.
Yeah, souped up turn on a literal dime cars. Like that's what I love about the SPMTs, self-propelled modular transporters.
Yep.
But yeah, this I mean even the turn from the main road here, this is the fastest they've done it of the 3 times. They are clearly getting the pattern down for how to do this.
Yeah. And as the tower is coming around the bend right there, you can really see a lot of detail on it. You can see the stairs inside the central truss of it right there. You can see the scaffolding on top of the columns. Really cool to see these things up close and in detail.
Yeah, I'll show some more detail as it gets closer as well.
Yeah, that'll be really cool to see, especially now that we're in the day and we can see things. So
yes,
yeah, yeah. Hitting a few more super chats here as we wait for this tower to come around the bend right here. Once again, with another road comment here, a chat here from Taylor Van Camp saying, so the ship and booster will take the same route as the Jenga pieces. Keep up the great work.
As the Jenga pieces.
Hashtag Hagen Fan Club. Well, thank you. And thank you for your support. here we go. We have a member, 5 red team memberships. Somebody gifting them from Dougal. Thank you for your support. And then again here, another super chat from Jurwa saying, at that pace, they're going to slam on the brakes and cause it to power flip up top. No crane needed. Just imagine the SPMT flying down the crawlerway, hitting the brakes and drifting, throwing the tower section on top. That's quite a vision to think about. Here we are. Yeah, you can really see Thomas there zooming in on the section there. You can see, wow, look at that scaffolding up top and the detail on it. It's so cool to see.
I know, and you can see the little work platforms that have temporarily been built
Yeah.
around the tops of the main support columns there, right? Which is where this one, when it gets stacked, right? There are corresponding ones on segment 2 that went out last week, and that's where the workers then actually bolt them, weld them together, and everything. So these scaffolds up here will be where tower segment 3, which is the one rolling out right now, and tower segment 4 will meet for their integration operations. Maybe later this week. Who knows at the rate they're going?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Wow, I cannot get over how fast this is moving.
Okay, this is the real test. Does it stop in front of the Artemis sign? Because they have the first 2 times. Right in front of our camera. That's it. Ease it on in.
Yeah, the VAB is about to come into frame right here.
It is indeed. Yeah, you can see
there it is.
The big Artemis sign, and if you keep going off to the left there, in between the tower segment and the Artemis sign, the tower segment stopped, by the way. So they do stop here for some reason. That is fascinating. I wonder why they stop there. Oh, now
I
the
like to
sleuthing
think
must
I know
begin.
exactly why they stop here, but I'm not
Thank
gonna
you.
claim anything. But I feel like I know exactly why.
Everyone wave and say thank you. So they do it again. But yeah, this is really cool because I love in this picture, you can actually see like a lot of the multi-user space of the Kennedy Space Center, right? You've got the SpaceX tower segment that's going by for Starship. You've got the Artemis sign draped on the vehicle assembly building where that vehicle is assembled, and it's currently out at the pad, but it'll be back in it shortly. And then you can kind of see 2 beige rectangular structures sticking out from the left-hand side of the part of the VAB with the Artemis sign, and those are 2 former shuttle processing facilities that are both now used by the Air Force. Space Force is X-37B. Space Base. Is that still owned by the Air Force, or did that go to the Space Force?
I believe that's Space Force now.
Okay, Space Force. Man, like they used to be Air Force, so I'm still transitioning with this and this nomenclature between Air Force and Space Force. So yeah, and right behind there is Boeing with Starliner. So there's a lot going on in that photograph, even if you can't, or the photograph. Let's try that again. Camera view, even though you can't see it in those buildings.
Yeah, some of the coolest stuff that's happening in this picture is the stuff you can't see. It's the super spooky secret space plane over there.
Ah, yes. Like the building we
yes.
just don't speak about on Cape Side.
Ooh, I know that building well.
No.
If you know, you know.
Well, I can't say I do, unfortunately, but maybe I'll figure it out soon. Anyways, yeah, Chris, how long do they typically stop for? Because I know you've been out there for the first 2 section rollouts. How long do they typically stay here in front of the VAB?
Yeah, so I think they're actually moving again
Oh, yeah.
very, very slowly. The first time they stopped for quite a while, it looked like there was something that they were maybe trying to fix with the SPMTs, the self-propelled modular transporters. Ooh, excuse me there. The self-propelled modular transporters. And I am basing that totally by the fact that all of a sudden, like 7 people emerged from under them, all of a sudden, and then they started rolling like immediately thereafter. But like when they went under there, no idea. But they all got out. Um, and then the second time, they stopped very briefly, almost like they stopped now. Like it was barely enough time to do a zoom in pan. Up and down the tower, and then they went kind of slow, but they still made the turn. And I'm wondering if it has something to do with the road. Look at how that guy is like spotting them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I wonder if the road just gets to its narrowest point there, and because they're turning, it's also that and it's also where they're making a turn in the road too. I wonder if it's just like they're trying to keep all the wheels on the pavement as much as possible, so they just have to slow down as they make this turn. Because I've never been
Yeah.
able to see the pavement, but I can now, and it looks like it straddles the whole entire thing.
You know,
Yeah.
Chris, I had my conspiracy theory, but I think I like that theory better, actually. Also, it did just nudge a cone. I don't know if anyone's keeping track of that. Is that points or something? But
Yeah, how many points is that in Mario Kart, right? When you hit
right,
the
yeah,
cone
exactly.
by.
Yeah.
Although to
Yeah.
be fair, my Tesla is afraid of cones and tries to get away from them when it sees a cone, so that's kind of funny. Like,
Um, well, it's certainly made a lot of progress since we started stream. I don't think any of us expected it to get here this fast, but look at it go. Maybe we'll see some really pretty colors here as the sun continues to set behind it or on the other side of it. Um, or no, I've gotten my directions all wrong. Whoops.
Yeah, well, the sun is unfortunately setting
yeah.
behind the VAB from this perspective,
Yeah.
but it is, we are, the tower is backlit currently, yes.
Yeah. Well, as this tower continues to slowly, at the moment, make its way down the road, we never know how fast they're going to go. They've been all over the place in terms of speed so far. But let's hit another one here, another chat from Ryan England saying, what's the top speed on one of those bad boys? So what's the top, do we have any idea how fast the SPMT can go?
I believe I was told that when they carry a load like this, they go about 2 miles per hour, but that is definitely not true. 'Cause
They were not going 2
definitely
miles per hour
they were not
earlier.
going 2 miles per hour earlier. No, no, no. It's a really good question. I think like, what is the max speed is a really good question. I do not know that off the top of my head. I will have to go look that up for you. All I do know is that the sort of speed that they attain during transport is very dependent on if they're on level ground, if they're on straightaways, if they're on tight turns, if they're on sort of sections like this where the road just narrows to the point where they need to be a little bit slower. Um, I think a lot of that had been based off of the moves that were happening at Boca Chica when we were seeing the boosters and the ships go back and forth. It was taking them about 2 hours to get between the production facility and the launch site. Or sorry, it was taking them about an hour to get between there, and they're about 2 miles apart, so 2 miles an hour. But obviously, they're transporting much taller things, which have a lot more given the wind, might we
Yeah.
say. Um, so the fact that they can go faster with a tower segment is not surprising. But I will try and look up the max speed of an SPMT here and get back to you.
Cool. Another super chat here from Desmo Bluefire saying, "Here's $20 for ship and booster Kennedy Space Center rollout streams." Well, thank you for your support.
Here we go. Got it. I must have typed something wrong because I was Googling this as I was trying to talk myself to an answer. SPMTs, when empty, can move at 10 kilometers per hour, and when fully loaded, can travel a max of 5 kilometers per hour. So 3 miles an hour and 16 miles an hour. So 16 miles per hour unloaded, 10 kilometers per hour, and then loaded 5 kilometers per hour or 7.5, 8 miles an hour. That's how fast they can go.
Ooh.
Yeah, and that's fully loaded, so depending on what the weight capacity of this SPMT is, it's
Right.
probably not be fully loaded. Right, I got you.
Right.
Very cool. Well, they are now rolling at a decent speed again. You can see they're fully crossing Thomas's camera view, which happens to cross in front of the VAB. I am always amazed at how large the VAB is. Like, it never ceases to amaze me how big of a building that is.
Yep. And and when you see it with your own eyes, much like Starship and Starbase, it's absolutely mind-boggling. Like it's absolutely mind-boggling how big it is.
Yeah,
And you know what's really
definitely.
disorienting about it is when you go inside of it and there are no floors above you. So you are just
Yes.
literally looking straight up more than 500 feet at the roof. And it's just like, that is what is so disorienting about it.
Yeah. I remember the one very lucky time I got to go into it. I got a little bit weak in the knees looking straight up because as you said, it's hard to fathom how tall it is. And whenever you look straight up like that, you get a little weak in the knees thinking how tall some people have to go to work on these amazing rockets that are built inside of it. But yeah, definitely.
All right,
Yeah.
we're going backwards now. Just a quick update.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah,
All right, and forward again. It's no big
we
deal. Just a minor correction.
we told you they can go in any direction. So
that was very
that was really funny, actually. I liked that.
it was very impressive how fast it happened too. Like you would have thought they would have to like very carefully ease to it, like stop and then back up and then ease again. No, they just like stopped, backed up, and are going. Well, are they stopped again now?
I know.
Oh,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I love the
Uh,
guessing game involved with this.
I do too. I do too. I also like where someone's. Do you mind if I pull a question out of the queue? Because I've got one that
Go
like
ahead.
I love this one. Um, so Zachariggs is asking what segment will make Starship Pad's tower taller than 39A, lightning rod included. I see. I know where you're going with this. And also, will it ever be taller than SLS's mobile launch pad? Okay, so SLS is slightly smaller than Starship will be. So its launch tower does not need to be as tall. And in fact, if you sort of look at it, they're not going to add a segment to SLS's tower. They're actually just going to build it a whole new one for close to $1 billion now, when it's time to go to Block 1B for SLS. But Starship is going to be a little bit taller than SLS's mobile launcher. And that's because not only is the rocket itself slightly taller, but the way the catch system works, the way the arms have to be positioned, the way it all has to operate, the way lightning masts have to be mounted to protect the area and everything, it will end up being taller than the SLS mobile launcher. The only thing I am not willing to say is if it will is because the mobile launcher gets placed on top of Pad B's surface. I still think the actual tower at 39A will be taller, but taller in reality. But then the pad elevation levels might get you and make it closer than it actually seems for true elevation, because 39A and 39B were built identical, except for the fact that Pad B is about 20 meters taller, higher off the ground than Pad A. So there is
Really?
that. Yeah, it's a I
Wow, I
know.
never knew that.
It is, and it's actually really yeah, it is. I did not know that until earlier. Shout out to Nathan Barker for finding that one. But man, once you see it and you go and you identify it, oh, you can't unsee it. It is taller and noticeably taller, or higher off. Taller is the wrong word. Higher off the ground in base elevation. Yeah,
Very interesting.
and we're gonna
I'll
see
have
it
to
in a
look
minute.
out for that. Yeah, with a certain very large orange rocket on it as well.
Yeah, well, we're getting close. We're about halfway between VAB and Orange Rocket backgrounds.
We're gonna have to
That's what
start
we
like
like.
keeping tabs on like where we can see certain things, where the tower is relative to how we see things from the press site. So, like right now, it's halfway between the VAB and Big Orange Rocket on Pad B. So, yeah. Okay. We have a few more super chats here to hit, and then we'll hit some chat questions. We have a $1 super chat here from Neil Lamika. I'm sorry if I messed up your name there, but thank you for your support. And then Mark Garrett's here with a $3 with a $3 super chat here saying it's 3 again. It's always 3.
Oh, that's a good shout out to a meeting we were in a few hours ago, Mark. I appreciate that. But yes, we have a
It's
joke
funny.
that so at one point I forget exactly how this started, but it came out the thrust is 3 instead of the number of engines is 3, and that like sort of stuck as an in joke amongst NASA spaceflight. So anytime 3 comes
Yeah,
up, it's a good yeah.
yeah. Now we just measure thrust in units of engine, so the thrust is 3
Yeah, exactly.
naturally.
Yeah. So for Starship, it's 3 times 10, right? That's how we do it. Increments of 3.
Yeah. Well, let's hit a few chat questions here while we wait for the big orange rocket to show up in the camera view there. We have a good one here from chat from Pastel the Devils saying, at NASA spaceflight, how long will it take to complete the tower assembly compared to Boca Chica, considering all the work that's already been put into the segments? Quicker, but by how much? So do we have like any indication on how much faster um this tower
Well,
will go up than the one at Starbase?
not really. And we're gonna need to see how quickly we're gonna need to see how they opt to build the one at Kennedy, right? Like, because they erected all the tower segments pretty quickly at Starbase and then outfitted them. But as we've already seen here, they're already partially outfitted with plumbing and electrical and data lines as they go out. But at a certain point, you'll reach the part of the tower, right, where you've got to attach the quick disconnect arm, where the chopsticks are gonna be ready to go on, or you might want to install some of the chopstick gear into it to make it a little more easier. Because remember, it's not just that, oh, go faster. It's what's more efficient, and more efficient doesn't necessarily mean faster. So if they found a more efficient way to construct this, we might see them pause at a certain point with how many tower sections are going out, and then come back, do some outfitting, and then come back and continue the build. So it is an absolutely fascinating question. I don't necessarily know if it will be quicker, though. That's just something we're going to have to wait and see how they have decided to alter the build of these things, or the
Yeah.
integration of these things, because they've already altered the build. I mean, they did not go out to the pad with all of this infrastructure inside of them and
Yeah.
everything at Boca. So that is definitely new here. Oh, increased speed, Captain. Uh, wow, you could really notice the
I,
second it started going faster.
yeah.
Like a
I
little
would love to
cartoon.
see it.
Whoop.
I would love to see a time lapse of this and just like, see it like speed up real quick and then slow down and then speed up and then back up and then stop and then speed up again. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have another good question here from chat. We talked a little bit about the SPMT earlier. We have a question here asking, how many wheels does the SPMTs have?
Yeah, so the answer that I can find to this in chat, please correct me if I am wrong. Basically, there are different types of self-propelled modules. So some can have 4 axles, some can have 5, some have 6, they can go up to 8. From what I've been able to tell, it depends on how much mass you need each axle to take. And a lot of that can have to do with road configurations, how the roads are built, things like that, what you're carrying. That is what I have been able to find in general. How many are on these? I don't know. Did we count as it went by?
We'll have to go back and grab a screen grab of it real quick, or maybe somebody in
I can
chat will let
report
us
that it's a
know.
lot,
But,
guys.
That it's a lot. Yes, that it is.
a lot, yeah. That's always a good it's always a good way to describe something, a lot.
Yeah. There's a good question that just came in from Chad.
I think
Chad's
it's the
asking,
one.
you literally just clicked it.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Chris.
bottom one, yeah. Where Chad is asking,
Oh,
speaking
okay.
of construction, yeah. Speaking of construction, do we think that the tower's construction here at Kennedy will need to be altered to account for major hurricanes? No, because Boca Chica is just as prone as Florida is from a statistical hit perspective for
Yeah.
hurricanes. So Boca would have needed to be built for that as well. Yep. Um, and in fact, something that Kennedy's, and by slightly better, I mean the elevation at Kennedy is 2. Whereas at Boca it's 1. And the joke I like to make is use whatever unit of measurement you wish on the end of that, meters or feet. They're not that high above sea level, either of these places. But Kennedy is a little bit higher. It does have a little bit better flood protection. It does have big berms and everything for hurricane protection along the coast front, to protect the launch pads, and to protect some of the areas from some of the storm surge that we would be concerned with. But in terms of the wind and everything, every new structure at the Kennedy Space Center, since for about 10 years now, or maybe longer, but definitely 10 years, has to be built to withstand a Category 5 hurricane. I believe the wind field of a Category 5 begins at 157 miles per hour sustained.
Yeah. Yep.
But everything that's built at Kennedy for the past decade or more has to be built to withstand a Category 5 hurricane.
Yep. And as you can see there, that just showed up in our camera view from Thomas, a very large orange rocket called the Space Launch System, I'm sure we all know it, just came into view. And if I've got my dates correctly, I'm a little all over the place in my dates recently, that big orange rocket's going to roll back pretty much the same way that the tower is rolling, basically on the same route the tower's rolling right now, except it will not go back down to Roberts Road. It'll head into the massive VAB.
Indeed. So the tower segment is sort of right now is on a road. It's not on the crawlerway. But SLS will use the crawlerway. That's SLS's road. SLS is and a road that it has all to itself because nothing else uses the crawlers to go out to the pads,
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right, like the Starships won't use them either. The Starships will use this sort of access road to get out to Pad A and everything as well. So SLS will come back. First motion is currently scheduled for 1 minute after midnight on Friday, July the 1st. Which should okay, let's see if I can say that word, should result in arrival roughly outside of the VAB around sunrise or thereabouts on July 1st on Friday morning. And of course, all of that is highly weather dependent, but yes, SLS will be coming back to the VAB for final launch preparations. And yes, everyone get excited because Orange Rocket good and good Orange Rocket about to do its thing later this year. So yes, very exciting that it's coming back to the VAB.
Yes. It's always cool to see how active how active it is at Kennedy. It's really cool. We're at the point now where we have things rolling up and down the crawlerway. I mean, often now. I mean, we've had a tower section rollout just about at the start and the end of a week for about the past 2 weeks, I believe. I'm blanking off the top of my head when the first one rolled out. And now we've got SLS rolling out to Pad B and back into the VAB. So it's really cool to see how active the Space Center is and how it continues to be more and more active as the years go on. Definitely cool to see.
Definitely indeed. I mean the activity, the pace of stuff at the Space Center here in Florida is really nice, like really, really nice now because it's just it's nonstop and it feels like a spaceport. Yes. Yeah, Dave Wolf with a good question here. Are we still expecting to see some cladding on the towers? Anyone's guess at this point. I mean, SpaceX likes aesthetics. They like to marry that look. So I'd imagine if it wasn't cost prohibitive, it'll end up looking like 39A to some degree. And 39A's current tower, because it will have two once this is there. I don't know. I mean, I would assume that's what they're going for in terms of operational mode. But also, as we saw when they took over Pad 39A and they got it up and running, they are not about letting aesthetics delay progress, right? So they found time to clad 39A after they started using it, and in between uses. So I would not be surprised to see that happening again there for the Starship Tower.
Yeah. It would definitely be cool to see both towers there with the black cladding on the side of it, and it would make me happy because I love the black cladding on the side of the fixed service structure at 39A. So
yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
We've had a few super chats come in. Want to hit those really quick. We have one here from Jay Gumpla saying, saying, "Oh my God, SpaceX just went plaid." I'm sorry. The
Yeah,
tower section went plaid.
that's SPMT plaid upgrade.
Uh, we have
Tesla
another one
Tesla
here.
joke.
Yeah, Tesla joke for anybody that didn't get that one. We have another super chat here, a $25 super chat. Thank you from Jeffrey
Oh,
Drews,
nice. Thank you, Jeffrey.
saying, watching my first live stream on Starlink, very cool. So happy with the
Ah,
increased bandwidth in my rural location. Keep up the fantastic coverage. Well, thank you, and we hope you enjoy Starlink. Very cool.
so I gotta tell one small little anecdote.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of weeks ago, I decided, all right, I'm just gonna do like an escape into nature for a day thing, over a weekend.
Uh-huh.
The very first thing I saw escaping into nature was a Starlink terminal.
Oh, that's cool.
And yes, I
Oh.
went to see if it was an open network, and it was not. But that was, I was just like, of course, and the nature and Starlink is the first thing that I picked out.
Oh, that's great. And then one more super chat here from Sean Portuguese. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. You are a true space fan once you watch a piece of steel go at 3 kilometers an hour halfway across the world at 3:30 in the morning. Definitely. I'm sure we can all say that we've been up at 3:30 in the morning at some point to watch something spaceflight related. Most of those Starlinks. Um, but definitely. So thank you for your support. Um, Well, well, okay. Well, I looked at my screen here just a second to pull a few questions, and it was stopped whenever I looked away, and I looked back, and now it's zooming down the road now. So, um, who knows? But here we go. We have a question here from Tom V. Chris G
Yes.
will appreciate this.
I'm
Shuttleman Chris
not
G.
mentioning it first. I'm not mentioning it first.
Shuttleman Chris G. I like that. If we were gonna make you a superhero, your name would be Shuttleman. I'm just saying.
I'd take it too.
Um,
Yeah.
asking how many times did STS-1 roll back to the VAB compared to SLS? Let's
STS-1
go.
never rolled back to the VAB. She rolled out on
Really?
December 30th, 1980 and launched on April 12th, 1981. She never rolled
Wow.
back.
I did not know the shuttles. Well, okay. I was just about to say I didn't know the shuttles were that resilient to weather, but it probably had the RSS up against it for a good while there.
Well, yes, because because the shuttles had to have their payloads installed, largely had to have their payloads installed at the pad. Some of them were installed in
Yeah.
orbital processing facilities before they got mated to the tank. But in large part, yes, the big rotating service structure would cocoon the orbiters and protect them from weather and shield them from weather. Most of the time, depending on how intense the storm was. But yeah, so they had that level of protection out there as well. But yeah, as they were going through the static fire campaigns, which are referred to as flight readiness firings for the space shuttle program, um, yeah, Columbia never had to come back for STS-1. Everything they needed to do to her, they could do at the pad.
Very cool. And this is a great shot here. Wow, I love the colors of sunset on the clouds and stuff, but you can see the tower section rolling down the road along the crawlerway there, and you can see its final destination over there, pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center. And actually, if you look closely, a little over to the right of the FSS, which is the black tower there, you can see the first two tower sections actually stacked, and the massive crane that stacked them. So that's really cool to see right there. Cool that you can see it from the press site now. So it'll.
Yeah. And I mean, like you can see, I mean, like this isn't too much of a perspective change that it messes with the heights of them, because the 39A tower, existing tower, and the new one that they're constructing by the crane, I mean, yeah, the tower on 39A sits on the base of the concrete pad that is fairly elevated above sea level there and above the local terrain. But I mean, you can see it's not going to take many tower segments to clear the height of what currently is at 39A.
Yeah, I'm always amazed. Like we get so used to seeing these tower sections roll out, and at Boca and stuff. But at Boca, we don't really have a tall structure to compare it to. So it's going to be really cool to see how tall this tower actually is whenever it's fully stacked. because as you said earlier, it's going to be taller than the mobile launcher, and that's already
Excellent, yeah.
massive.
Yep.
So it's going to be. I can't wait to see another massive tower at the Cape. It's going to be really cool. Well, speaking of tower height. Here's a good one here. A good question from chat saying at NASA spaceflight, the complete tower will be taller than the VAB, right? I gonna answer this and say no if I'm remembering correctly. If I'm remembering correctly, the Starship launch tower will be around 400 feet, and the VAB is about 526 feet. Chris, please fact check me.
It is exactly 526 feet
Oh,
high.
sweet.
Yes.
Cool. So I'm gonna say no that the Starship launch tower at 39A will not be taller than the VAB. Although it'll certainly make sure the VAB isn't the tallest structure out there anymore. It'll have some competition. The VAB will have some competition out there.
Yeah. From what I can tell, you got those numbers exactly right. 475
cool.
feet or 145 meters is the height of the Starship tower. Not counting the lightning mass, they will stick on top of it. Important potential caveat. And the VAB is 526 feet, so not taller than the VAB.
Cool. I'm just very surprised I got those numbers right. I'm bad with numbers, so it's a surprise. But we've had a few super chats come in right here. One here from D&D Production, saying, "Hi, well, hello there. Thank you for your support."
Hello back.
And then,
Greetings.
and then a new member here, from Gene McFarland. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Becoming a Red Team member. So thank you for your support. Enjoy those membership perks. As we continue to get these awesome shots, I love this. I love this frame that Thomas has the camera right now of the tower section rolling down, and you can see 39A in the distance.
Yeah. And
it'll be cool to
think,
see with the Falcon on the pad.
Oh, it will. Imagine that. The day that this is rolling out and a Falcon is scheduled to go in a few hours, but they've got like just enough time to get it there. I think they do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But seeing a couple more questions, so just want to make sure we're hitting things that people who are joining the stream after we started are still hearing and understanding. This is not moving down the actual crawlerway, so it's not on the pebbles or the stones or anything like that. It is on the road right next to the crawlerway, so crawlerway adjacent, but following the exact same path out to 39A as the crawlerway does.
Definitely very cool.
Yeah.
Let's hit a few questions here that we've had come in. Okay, here's a good opinion question that we can have a few of us answer. Oh, here we go. Here's Michael.
Yes.
Put us up a nice Google Maps photo here. So you see that road right there, saying the Saturn Causeway. That's if I'm correct, Chris. That's
Yep.
what the section is rolling down right now.
Yes, indeed.
And then the crawlerway is the larger road. It almost doesn't even look like a road from this angle, but those two beige looking streaks with the grass
Yes.
median down the middle, that's the crawlerway.
Yes, and the entirety of the crawlerway. It's not one goes one way and the other goes the way. Like the thing straddles that grass median as it goes out. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can actually see it because at a certain point here, the tower segment will make a little jaunty turn here, and it's exactly what Michael was just showing you. It's going around actually a crawler temporary park site is what it has to go around when it makes that jog, because when the crawlers are taken out, exactly what we're showing you right here, and this is actually right at the crawlerway split for A and B. So when the crawler takes SLS out to pad B, it then puts SLS on the pad, moves back down the pad, and then stays right there until they start to do something with SLS, like get it ready to fuel. But then they've got to move the big, massive, one of a kind, because we didn't upgrade the second one to be able to carry SLS, so kind of one of its kind. Crawlers, they've got to get it out of harm's way, right? You've got to get it out of the way in case something goes wrong. So they back it down to crawlerway here. And this is what the tower segment now needs to go around, because there is no straight there's no road that continues straight. So you've got to bend around this temporary park site for the crawlers to get back onto the Saturn Causeway to go to Pad A. And if
Ooh.
you've ever been to the Kennedy Space Center, it's the LC-39 viewing gantry is right there as well.
Yeah.
So yes, that is where the bump out is in the crawlerway.
Very cool. Wanted to hit this question because it's sort of a fun opinion question here. Saying at NASA Spaceflight, do y'all think we can see the entire tower with Mechazilla operative by the end of the year? Chris, any thoughts on if we're going to see a full Starship launch tower by the end of the year?
I would say we're sitting in June, so June 27th. So we've literally got 6 months and 3 days, or 2.5 days technically left to go, depending on what time zone you're in, of the year. I'm possible. I mean, it's possible, and if you sort of look at this, but let's back up and let's talk about why possible might be something that they really need, right? Because this is this is for the Artemis program, right? This is, Starship is the lunar lander. So, like we just saw the tower segment pass SLS with Orion, which is the crew launch vehicle. We've got Capstone launching in the morning
Yeah.
still, unless something's gone awry with that. But Capstone, this little CubeSat, is launching on the Electron with Rocket Lab from New Zealand in the morning. Morning Eastern time. It's 09:55 UTC or 5:55 Eastern is the liftoff time for Capstone. But like this is Artemis. So and part of the Artemis contract that SpaceX won is that they have to do demonstration flights. They have to prove to NASA in a full up uncrewed demonstration flight that they can do this before Artemis 3 will land people on the surface of the moon. And obviously, we know Artemis 3 is delayed from its original target, but if they're still holding to 2024, 2025 in that regard, the sheer amount that SpaceX needs to do to get ready for that, it wouldn't surprise me that they would want an operational ready launch tower and launch system at the Kennedy Space Center so that they can begin those sorts of flight tests in
Yeah.
2023. Because I mean, for the moon, making sure that you have about a year between when you do the uncrewed demonstration and when the actual landing, I mean, that's probably as low as they'd want to go. Just from if we find something and we need to fix something standpoint, right? From both agencies, not just SpaceX but NASA as well. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me that there might be a legitimate operational coming need where they would want this tower operational so that they can at least do all the testing they need to do on it before actually stacking the first ship on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with everything you said there. In terms of, if we'll see the chopsticks and everything, fully operative, like Chris said, I'm sure they would love to. And and at the pace they're going right now, I could definitely see them doing that. But if there's anything here that's going to keep it from being fully operative by the end of the year is if they can get, everything fully installed, if they can get the chopsticks up there, electrical systems ready. But hey, this is SpaceX. They've done things that we never thought they could do before. So yeah, you never know what they're gonna do. So it would not surprise me if they definitely get this launch tower operative by the end of the year.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. I must just point out the incredibly nerdy joke that was made by Jamez. I have to put this on screen. This is wonderful. Only real people understand how the tower is actually going 1,040 miles per hour. Kudos to you because Earth is rotating. Yes.
You and your reference frames.
Oh. Oh man. Well,
Jay, one more. Sorry, I'm just seeing good questions here. Jay, yes, if you are in St. Augustine, Florida, and something launches from the Cape, if it's clear, you'll see the exhaust. Happy to provide answers to more than one thing.
we have another Florida question here for you, Chris.
Go for
to
it.
test your knowledge on Florida. We have a question here from Amiga Clone asking, at NASA Spaceflight, will Starship Tower be taller than the tallest natural point in Florida?
What is oh my God, I used to know this.
Oh,
Tallest
I
natural
used to
point in
too. I have a
Florida.
feeling the answer is yes, because the number in my head is only like 300 something, but I could be completely
Yes, that
wrong.
is mine. 345. Yes, it will be. It will be taller than the naturally tallest place in Florida, which is 345 feet above sea level. It is
That's
Britton Hill,
hilarious.
Florida. Yes, 300 stuck in my mind too, because I was like,
Florida
it's
is
not
so
that tall.
flat. All right, so there are structures that start at sea level here that are taller than the tallest point of land in the entire state of Florida.
That's so funny. That's hilarious.
I love questions like that. Keep them coming.
The more you know,
Um,
the more you know.
but yes.
Oh, another good one here that I'm just seeing in chat. Do you think Starship poses a large enough risk to other sites at the Cape to warrant any serious launch restrictions? Thoughts, Chris?
Good question. It's a lot of propellant. But I think one thing to remember is how propellants burn. Right? And when tanks sort of give way, right? Pressurized tanks sort of give way, it's not an explosion like we think of, right? I mean, you have to have some sort of an ignition source. And yes, I'm not saying it's not a boom, but like I'm trying to understand this. And Thomas, if you can jump in if I get this wrong, but there's it, rockets it's not like when they're going uphill, right? And the engines are firing and you have different ignition sources and you just see like that, whoa, look at that in the sky, right? As they're coming apart. um so yes, there is a blast danger area around what Starship would encompass, right? And it is possible that that could encompass another launch pad. But is it so big that like someone on the south side needs to worry if it blows up, it's going to take out one of our things? No, not from a ground perspective, right? And when these rockets go skyward at the Cape, even the current ones that we have, I think one thing to sort of bear in mind is depending on their trajectories, the current ones as they launch and go out can have effects on other launch pads and can cause closures and can cause work stoppages at other pads, again, just depending on where they're going and what their trajectories are. So, do we need to worry about Starship? Yeah, I mean, it is a bigger vehicle, right? But it's not so much of a bigger vehicle that like the press site can't be staffed when one of them is launching from 39A, right? It's not something like that. It's well within sort of what the Cape was built for.
Yep, I think Chris nailed it. Nothing to add.
Yeah, good question. I believe we're going to try and wrap it up soon here. As you can see, it's getting later into the night. And as the tower
Yeah.
section gets farther and farther away, there's less that we can actually see.
It's running away at a blistering speed.
Yeah.
It is still going fast. I cannot get over how fast this thing has been going today. We have a few super chats I want to hit right quick before we do wrap. We have one here. Oh, I don't even know if I can pronounce your name. I'm sorry. Saying, "Long live the bride." Also love the Chris fact for STS-1.
Anytime.
Chris, of course, coming through with our shuttle. Chris is like our walking shuttle encyclopedia. Ask him anything, he can give you an answer. And then one more here from Musical Wolves. Stream tower stacking and rollout on Mars. Fun. We'll have to get DOS to send a camera to Mars for us to stream tower section rollouts. And will Starship be able to launch the tower section to Mars? This is actually a really interesting question.
Ooh.
How do we expect them? Because obviously they're going to want to launch Starship from Mars in the future. How do we expect them to do this?
Well, yeah, there are a few different ways, right? You can certainly prefab some stuff on Earth and send segments as the colony would be built. You could certainly just send raw materials and stuff like that as the colony grew and had that sort of ability. Thomas, I don't think a tower segment is more than 100 metric tons.
Well, it might not be. In fact, it probably isn't. However, you can also consider that a tower segment that only has to withstand Mars gravity might be lighter.
Very true.
Oh, yeah.
So and to be fair, you'll still have to launch it in pieces, but the raw materials for a tower can probably be launched in a small handful of Starship flights.
And I think that's a hint that KSC Starship operations are not the only thing that's happening,
Yep.
because look at that. They are doing something with Booster 7 on the pad. Sneaky, sneaky, while you thought we were distracted by a tower segment.
SpaceX, quick, look over here.
It's very cool to see. Yeah, that's what that's over on the left hand side there. That's what the Cape could become one day. So
what
very
the
cool to
Cape,
see.
what we hope the Cape will become one
Yeah,
day. What it
definitely.
needs to become one day, actually, for the Artemis
Yeah.
program.
Yeah, definitely. Well, everybody, if you'd like to head over and watch some awesome Booster 7 testing, be sure to head over to Starbase Live, our 24/7 live stream over at Starbase at Boca Chica in Texas. As you can see right there, we have some gorgeous views. Love the sun glint on the side of Booster 7 there. Get some gorgeous views of Booster 7 testing. It appears with all that venting there on the pad at the orbital launch mount. So very cool to see there. But folks, I believe that is just about going to wrap us up here today. As I said earlier, the section is getting farther and farther away from Thomas. It's running away. So that's going to wrap us. That's going to wrap it up here today for us in this tower section rollout stream. Of course, want to go around the horn and thank everybody for thank everybody who was on stream with us today. First off here, we have Mr. Chris Gebhardt, Assistant Managing Editor of NASASpaceflight, providing some awesome shuttle facts and Starship facts and Kennedy Space Center facts here today. Thank you, Chris.
There'll always be a shuttle fact, but I didn't bring it up first.
Yes, you have to ask him to get a shuttle fact out of him. Thank you, Chris, for all that you do. And then I was Hagen Warren. I am a writer here at NASASpaceflight. I was your host for today, throwing Chris and Thomas some questions, and I'm trying my best to describe what was happening on the screen. And then next up we have Michael Baylor, our operator in the background. You didn't hear him on comms, but he's in the background making sure everything looks good, making sure we all sound good, putting the different views up onto stream. So thank you, Michael. And then last but certainly not least, we have Thomas Berghardt, who is out in the field giving us those awesome views of the tower section rolling out, as well as Stephen Marr, one of our photographers. So thank you to both of them for rolling out there to the Kennedy Space Center and giving us those awesome views of today's rollout. Well, that's going to do it for us here. And as I said, be sure to head over to Starbase Live to watch this beautiful Booster 7 testing on the OLN there. But that's going to do it for us here at NASA Spaceflight. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all next time.